New Zealand looks like paradise on Instagram, but there's a reason 80,000 Kiwis fled to Australia just last year. Americans think they have it rough with healthcare costs, but at least you can afford to see a specialist. In New Zealand, you might die waiting. Today, I'm exposing the 3 brutal realities that make the Kiwi dream a nightmare for middle-class families, and why Americans would lose their minds if they lived there for just 6 months. This isn't what the travel vlogs show you. This is the truth. Let's start with the elephant in the room, money. Or more specifically, the absolute lack of it. Imagine earning $70,000 a year, but living like you make $40,000. That's New Zealand. And I'm not exaggerating. This is mathematically provable. According to the 2024 Demographia International Housing Affordability Report, Auckland is the 10th most unaffordable city on Earth. We're talking worse than Los Angeles, worse than London. The median house price in Auckland is over 10 times the median household income. 10 times. Let me introduce you to Sarah. She's 34, a registered nurse in Wellington. One of those essential workers everyone clapped for during COVID. Sarah makes 75,000 New Zealand dollars a year, which converts to about $45,000 US dollars. Sounds rough, but manageable, right? Here's where it gets insane. Her 1-bedroom apartment, and I'm talking 600 square feet with no parking, cost her 550 New Zealand dollars per week. That's $330 US dollars per week. Do the math with me. That's $1,320 a month. For a 1-bedroom. Her annual rent alone is $15,840. That's 35% of her pre-tax income going to a landlord for a space barely big enough to do yoga. Sarah can't afford to have kids. She can't save for a house. She'd need a 20% deposit on a $700,000 home, which is $140,000 in savings. At her current rate, she need to save every penny for 15 years. 15 years of no vacations, no eating out, no life. And she's a nurse, a professional with a degree and a critical job. Now here's what'll blow your mind. In Dallas, Texas, a nurse making $45,000 could rent a 2-bedroom apartment for $1,200 a month and have money left over. She could actually build a life. But wait, it gets worse. Let's talk groceries. The 2023 OECD Economic Survey showed New Zealand has the 3rd highest housing cost-to-income ratio among developed nations, but the pain doesn't stop at rent. A gallon of milk costs 7.50 New Zealand dollars. That's $4 US dollars and 50 cents. 1 pound of chicken breast, 15 New Zealand dollars, which is $9 US dollars. I've seen reports of a single cauliflower costing $12. $12. For a vegetable that's mostly water and sadness. Meet David. He's a father of 3 in Christchurch, and he's not living some luxury lifestyle. He switched to cheaper cuts of meat, buys rice in bulk, meal preps like he's training for a bodybuilding competition. His grocery bill is still 400 New Zealand dollars per week. That's $240 US dollars for a family of 5. That's $12,480 a year on groceries alone. Combined with rent, utilities, transportation, there's nothing left. David told a local reporter, "We're not living. We're just not dying." But the housing crisis is just the surface. The real shock is what happens when you actually get sick. Free healthcare sounds amazing until you're staring at a 4-year wait list while your hip crumbles. New Zealand has free public healthcare, and on paper, that sounds incredible, right? No medical bankruptcy, no insurance companies denying your claims, no $10,000 surprise bills. Except here's what they don't tell you. It's rationed so severely that middle-class Kiwis are choosing to suffer in silence. Meet Robert. He's 58, a former construction manager in Auckland. In 2021, he was diagnosed with severe hip arthritis. His pain level? 8 out of 10. Every single day. He can barely walk. Standing up feels like someone's driving a screwdriver into his pelvis. He can't play with his grandkids. He can't sleep through the night. The public hospital told him his wait time for a hip replacement is 3 to 4 years. 3 to 4 years of agony. The alternative? Private surgery for 25,000 New Zealand dollars. That's $15,000 US dollars out of pocket. No insurance coverage. Robert doesn't have that kind of money, so he waits. He takes 8 painkillers a day, hobbles around his house, and watches his life shrink. He told reporters, "I feel like a prisoner in my own body." The 2024 New Zealand Health Survey revealed that 240,000 Kiwis waited over 4 months just to see a specialist. For months. That's up 47% since 2019. We're not talking about elective Botox appointments. We're talking about cancer screenings, cardiac evaluations, chronic pain management. In America, you might pay $3,000 in insurance deductibles and out-of-pocket costs, but you'd have that hip surgery within 6 weeks. 6 weeks, not 6 seasons. In New Zealand, you don't pay with money, you pay with pain. You pay with years of your life spent in agony, which is worse. And it's not just physical health. The mental health system is a desert. The average wait time for public mental health services is 6 to 8 weeks. If you want to see a private psychologist, you're looking at $200 New Zealand dollars to $300 per session. That's $120 to $180 US dollars, with no insurance coverage for most people. Let me tell you about Emma. She's 27, and after losing her job during the pandemic, she spiraled into severe anxiety. Panic attacks, insomnia, the whole nightmare. She reached out to the public mental health system, and you know what they told her? She wasn't critical enough, not sick enough to qualify for help. She couldn't afford private care. $180 a session adds up fast when you're unemployed. Her breaking point came in a supermarket. Full-blown panic attack, couldn't breathe, thought she was dying. Paramedics came, took her to the hospital, and they sent her home with pamphlets. Pamphlets. Emma said, "I was literally begging for help, and the system said I had to be suicidal first." So here's the hidden truth about New Zealand healthcare. No medical bankruptcy, sure. But you might suffer for years waiting for care that Americans, despite all their complaints about insurance, can access in weeks. Now here's where it gets even weirder. The culture that celebrates this struggle. There's a cultural disease in New Zealand that Americans would find absolutely suffocating, and it's killing ambition. It's called tall poppy syndrome. The idea is simple. If you stand out, if you succeed, if you dare to want more, they'll cut you down. Like a tall poppy in a field, you get trimmed back to everyone else's level. Let me introduce you to James. He's 35, built a successful app in Auckland, made 200,000 New Zealand dollars in his first year. That's about 120,000 US dollars. Good money anywhere, but especially in New Zealand. He was proud. He bought a nice car. Not even luxury, just a new Toyota. And that's when everything changed. His coworkers stopped talking to him. Friends made passive-aggressive comments. Must be nice to have money to waste. His own family said he was getting too big for his boots. Success wasn't celebrated. It was treated like a moral failing. James moved to San Francisco in 2023. He told me, "In America, success is celebrated. People want to know how you did it. In New Zealand, success is suspicious. They want to know what you did wrong to get it." A 2023 study published in the New Zealand Journal of Psychology found that 68% of high achievers reported experiencing social backlash for their success. 68%. That's not a fringe experience. That's a cultural norm. Americans complain about hustle culture all the time, and I get it. The grind can be exhausting. But at least in America, you're allowed to hustle. You're allowed to be ambitious without being labeled arrogant or greedy. In New Zealand, ambition itself is seen as a character flaw, and the numbers prove it. The median CEO salary in New Zealand is 180,000 New Zealand dollars, about 108,000 US dollars. In the United States, for a similar company size, you're looking at $350,000 or more. A tech developer in Wellington makes 80,000 New Zealand dollars to $100,000. That same developer in Austin, Texas, $120,000 to $150,000 US dollars. New Zealand loses 1% of its skilled workforce every single year to immigration. 1% might not sound like much, but for a country of only 5 million people, that's catastrophic. They're bleeding talent to Australia, the US, Canada, anywhere that pays better and respects ambition. Meet Sophia. She's 29, a software engineer who got offered a promotion in Auckland for 95,000 New Zealand dollars. At the same time, she got a job offer in Sydney for 140,000 Australian dollars. That's 20% more money after currency conversion, and Sydney, despite being expensive, has a lower cost of living relative to income than Auckland. She left in 2024. Hasn't looked back. She told me, "I love New Zealand. It's beautiful, it's peaceful, but I can't build a future there. I can't afford a house, I can't advance my career, and if I succeed, people resent me for it." Kiwis call it humility. They say it keeps people grounded, prevents inequality, builds community. And maybe there's truth in that. But when humility means accepting lower pay, worse career opportunities, and crumbling infrastructure because you're not supposed to want more, is it really a virtue? Or is it just another way to keep people in their place? But wait, here's where the story takes a turn. Despite everything I just told you, the brutal housing costs, the healthcare wait times, the cultural pressure to stay small, here's the plot twist. Life satisfaction in New Zealand ranks higher than the United States. How? How can a country with worse pay, unaffordable housing, and a healthcare system held together with duct tape and hope be happier? The 2024 World Happiness Report ranked New Zealand 10th in the world. The United States? 23rd. At a 13-place gap. So what's the secret? It's community over cash. Work-life balance in New Zealand isn't just a corporate buzzword printed on a poster in the break room. It's enforced. By law, every full-time employee gets 4 weeks of paid annual leave. For weeks. In the United States, there's no legally required paid vacation. 0. Stores close at 6 p.m. Sundays are sacred. Most places don't even open. This she'll-be-right mentality, this laid-back, it'll-work-out somehow attitude, actually reduces stress. There's no glorification of the grind. No one's bragging about pulling an all-nighter or working through the weekend. Let me tell you about Linda. She's 52, an American expat who moved to Wellington in 2019. In Chicago, she was a marketing director making $95,000, working 60-hour weeks, constantly stressed, barely sleeping. Now, she's a marketing manager in Wellington making 85,000 New Zealand dollars, about 51,000 US dollars. That's a 40% pay cut. But here's what she told me. "I make 40% less money, but I've attended more of my daughter's soccer games in 5 years here than I did in 10 years in America. My blood pressure dropped. I cut my anxiety medication in half. I was rich in Chicago. I'm alive in New Zealand." Her life isn't bigger. It's smaller. Smaller house, smaller paycheck, smaller career, but somehow fuller. But here's what the expat blogs won't tell you. This only works if you don't want upward mobility. New Zealand is perfect for people who value time over money, who want an outdoor lifestyle, who prioritize safety and community. It's terrible for ambitious professionals climbing the ladder, for families who want to own homes, for people with chronic health issues who need fast medical care. There's a sweet spot, though. Older Americans with savings. Retirees. Remote workers earning U.S. salaries while living in New Zealand. Meet Tom and Rachel, a couple in their 60s who retired to the Bay of Islands. They have U.S. retirement income of $6,000 a month. In New Zealand, they live like kings. They bought a beachfront property they could never afford in California. When they have healthcare concerns, they use travel insurance and fly back to the U.S. if needed. Tom said, "New Zealand is paradise when you don't need to earn here." So the shocking truth isn't that Kiwis don't live like Americans. It's that they've chosen a completely different definition of success. Americans chase more money, more stuff, more achievement. Kiwis chase enough. Enough to be comfortable. Enough to be happy. Enough to spend Sundays at the beach with their kids instead of answering emails. Neither way is wrong, but they're incompatible. You can't have both. You can't have the American dream of unlimited upward mobility and the Kiwi dream of work-life balance and community. You have to choose. So here's what I want to know. Would you take a 40% pay cut and give up your dream of homeownership in exchange for 4 weeks of vacation, mountains outside your window, and 0 school shootings? Because that's not a hypothetical. That's the actual trade 15,000 Americans made last year when they moved to New Zealand. Drop a comment right now. Are you Team America? More money, more hustle, more opportunity? Or are you Team New Zealand? Less money, more life, more peace? And if you've actually lived in both countries, I need to hear your story. The real one, not the Instagram version. And if you think New Zealand is expensive, wait until you see what I found about Canada. The housing crisis there makes Auckland look affordable. That video drops next week. Don't miss it.